Chris Kling, and before we start, I'll share my screen. 1 second. Here we go. I'm Chris Kling, owner and managing director of the audio production house Klangkantine Audiobooks and Klangkantine Studios, and I am really happy to have you all here for today's masterclass. And yeah, it's great to have so many people here today to join me talking about audio and where the technology, the tools, and the market are headed, and to make sense of it all together. Yeah, so before we get started, I want to share a little bit of my very own journey in audio with you. So, first of all, I have to say it's a great time to be part of the story, to be part of audio altogether. Because when I first started my business in 2009 as a recording studio, I always had the impression that I was late and I missed the best times. But you know, I heard countless stories from industry veterans about the good old days where time and money flowed freely, and they swore that audio engineering is dead. And back then, I was in my early 20s. It was to my luck that I was passionate enough, or just very stubborn, or both maybe, and seemed not to care about a lot of things, and still kept on this path. And the last few years, though, and with our shift to a full-service audio production house we are now, the situation has changed, and I think that's the audio boom everybody is talking about. And I really think that this is a pivotal moment in the industry. We have a very dynamic market and new technologies at our hand, and I really think this can be used in our favor. The audio industry that was once a niche is now in front and center in people's daily life, whether it's audiobooks, podcasts, or streaming music, obviously. However, this comes with new challenges, and for those of us that are in publishing, it's clear that our strategies probably need to evolve. And today, together with you, we'll explore how these forces are impacting us and how we are leveraging new tools and strategies that help to cope with these developments. So let's start. And this is how I would like to proceed over the next 40 minutes. First of all, I will show you and walk you through some marketing insights and recent developments we see on the market, then draw to challenges that derive from them, and lastly, to present you some solutions we concluded, and introduce you to our production strategies and tools we've developed at Klangkantine to address these challenges. So let's start with audio market insights. So let's have a quick look at the audiobook markets in Germany, because we do produce internationally and also in many languages, but our main market is still Germany. And for those who are here internationally now, I still think that many things can be derived from this. Although other markets might be at a different stage of development, we still see that I think some conclusions can be drawn of how it is here. So before we go on with the details, I think it's safe to say that in the last few years, we had a rapidly expanding market. In the last few years, especially since 2019 and during the pandemic, we saw double-digit growth in all sectors. And I think we have arrived in an era where audio consumption was steadily rising. Also, streaming platforms, digital libraries, nonlinear media consumption has become somewhat the norm. Let's look at some numbers in detail about this. So this is the daily audio consumption in Germany in minutes. And we can see here that since the pandemic, this has increased by an impressive 21 minutes. Please do note that this also contains linear radio and music, podcast, and also audiobooks. Although audiobooks is probably one of the lesser big shares in all this. But let's go and take a closer look at audiobooks in special. And these are the listeners and how they developed in digital audiobooks. So we see that they have risen 2018 to 2022 by quite a substantial amount, arriving at 3.4 million in 2022. So what does this mean for the revenue these audiobooks generated? And this is quite impressive. I'm pretty sure that some of you might be aware of these numbers. So we had, since 19 to 22, an increase of 39.4% in revenues from audiobooks. As you might have seen now, I spared out the recent numbers from 2023. So let's take a look at this now. Again, we see the daily audio consumption, and let's get to see the numbers for 2023. So I'll pull that in. And we can see in 2023, the number somewhat stabilized at a little bit more than in the pre-pandemic times. So it kind of dropped back to some values to this. The list of digital audiobooks, I draw in the numbers of 2023, and we also see that those stabilized at around 3.4 million in 2023. So there's no significant change in these years. And now let's take a look at the revenue again. So 2022, if I pull in the numbers for 2023, you will see that this quite looks good. So we had a 3.1% rise from 22 to 23. But please note that these are the nominal values. So if we take a look at the real values and take inflation into account, of which we have plenty the last few years, the numbers do look a little bit different. I don't want to say that this is particularly a really alerting thing, but I think to get the big picture, it's really important that we take this into account. Let's take a look at how this is split up in different modes of distribution. So this is the revenue of audiobooks split up in streaming, download, and CD in 2023. And I think it's really important to note that also in Germany, as well as other countries, the streaming is, as a distribution mode, is steadily rising. And I think this is one of the most significant challenges we're facing, from traditional sales, downloads, CDs to streaming. And I think it's also important to note that there was a streaming growth from 22 to 23 by 14%, but if we take the numbers from 2019 into account, that has risen for an impressive 190%. I mean, given these numbers will continue to change in the same direction, and to take some studies and industry outlooks into account, this might look something like this in 2 years from now. As this might look impressive to you, please note that there are other markets in Europe where the share of streaming is already significantly higher today. So that's quite something. I think we don't know yet how much that will affect us and how much really streaming is going to grow, but I think there's not much fantasy needed to imagine that it will also continue to rise. Now, let's take a look at the production side, since this is about audio production. 200,000. And this is the number how many audiobooks are published to date on the German market, approximately. I think this is already quite an impressive number. And I want to share some info on how this number is developing. So as you can see, in the last 4 years, there are roughly more than 10,000 new audiobooks entering the market. And done some calculations for you. And given the runtime of approximately 8 hours per audiobook, this means that 80,000 hours per year come to the market. That means 219 hours per day just of new audiobook content getting released to the market today. And I think that's quite impressive because we still have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 2 years. So that's quite a substantial amount. Further, maybe interesting to know, of these publications, we assume that 40 to 50% of the share are released by rather established players or new but trending players of the publishing industry. So, yeah, what do we conclude from this? I would like to say something that might come to a surprise for some of you, and obviously maybe it's something that somebody hasn't taken into account yet, but I think it's safe to say that the boom of audio is behind us. That doesn't mean audio doesn't continue to grow or loses its relevance, but this double-digit growth that we had in the last years is most likely to come to a halt or to a stop, or a slowing down at least. There are some numbers for 2024 that look a little bit better, I have to say, to complete it all, but I rather wait until the year's end to say more about this. To sum it all up, we saw that audio consumption and audiobook listeners are stable, but not growing anymore, at the moment at least. We saw that audiobook revenue has somewhat plateaued, and the streaming revenue is rising, but profit margins are shrinking. And we definitely saw that there's a steady growth of audiobook catalog on the market in the DACH region, at least. That's the DACH, so Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. So what are the challenges that we just saw in these numbers? I'm sure that there are plenty, as well as the options, but I just want to walk you through a few of what we see. I'm sure that there's more, and this cannot be a complete picture, but let's start. So, like I mentioned before, we do have shrinking profit margins in streaming, and that's a big issue. I just had a big discussion about this with the publisher yesterday, and I think that's a well-known fact and a well-discussed challenge already, and but we have to face that this is shifting. While maybe publishers can no longer rely on the lucrative margins that the other formats have, but nevertheless, I see that there are some options. And but what we can see right now, that this is impacting how we approach the production and the monetization. A really striking thing to me is that we have a big market saturation. I mean, drawing on the numbers I just presented, this plateau of listeners poses a real challenge, because especially when you consider that new audiobooks are entering the market each and every day, and it's not slowing down, but the listener base isn't growing the same rate. The result will be an increasingly competitive landscape where publishers, I think, need to stand out. And this leads us to the next point I see, and will be the battle for attention, because we are living in an era where content media is everywhere, and there is a lot of competition going on for the time budget that each and one of us has each and every day. Because it's also not only audiobooks competing against each other, and it's not only about audiobooks competing against podcasts or other audio formats, it's also everything that we consume. And I think the listeners nowadays are really spoiled by high quality content that gets released every day. May it be podcasts, but also like visual formats like Netflix series, or other stuff like in-app providers like Blinkist. And I really think that discoverability is a challenge that will be increasingly important for all of us. So as if that wouldn't have been enough already, there's another thing called text-to-speech. A new player enters the scene, and let me give you a little bit of insight. I mean, so many things have being said, and so many opinions about this, especially in Germany, have been fought, and I think it's really important that we discuss all those issues. And for us as a company, as a production house, it might come to a surprise that we do have made a little bit of a journey with TTS internally, because out of experimentation reason, we have developed workflows and produced TTS audiobooks for some clients, but for us, these projects have remained at an early development stage. And we do not see many more, at least for audiobooks, not any more reason to invest heavily in this. And the reasons why we don't do that are numerous and complex, but to summarize, we don't believe in a promising future for monetized TTS audiobooks. I mean, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean for sure that TTS will fail to get consumer acceptance, and I think the market, I mean, this will to be found out, but rather we, according to our research and our imagination, we don't believe that hard-baked TTS wave products monetized through the traditional channels is a concept that will succeed in future. There's one reason we come to the conclusion. There's in particular many reasons, but one in particular I want to draw upon is this. It's the 11 Labs Reader app. I'm sure that many of us have heard of 11 Labs. It's a text-to-speech provider. They were one of the first ones to provide high-quality voices, and they gained a lot of attention because they're also, I think, the first ones that where they have tone interpretation automatically aligned to the content that is being read by the TTS algorithm. So even in dialogues, that works in somewhat fairly well, you might argue, in comparison to others. The Reader app is a new thing which is completely free and B2C. So it's directly free for the consumer. You can, as you can see here, you can load your ebooks and get them read by you almost in real time, and you can pick from many voices and even licensed celebrities. I mean, it's a big thing, I think, and we will see how the community of book lovers will react. But one sure thing is that I think the use case of users who read a nonfiction book and then they cannot read for some reason because they drive in the car somewhere and then they have to listen to it and then switch back to reading, I'm pretty sure that some of those people will love the tool. And that's not enough. I just recently heard that 11 Labs is aiming for more. They're also now reaching out to indie authors to release their content in the app directly. It's interesting, and I think all of us, we will see how these developments will impact our industry. And yeah, that's all we can see and wait what the future brings. But this leads us to the question, and if I might be the devil's advocate here, is audio still worth the investment? And I would say yes. I think because audio is here to stay. And it seems that audio has just found a way from the niche into the mainstream. And as we saw in the numbers, that Germany just has arrived at the state-of-the-art market maturity. And that's why the numbers do look how they look, which is not a bad sign, because in comparison to text-based content like print and ebooks, the numbers are still good. And also, audio's share of the publishing industry in general is expected to rise. So if you are a publisher and are not investing in audio yet, I think it's still a great time and still a good time to start. So let's get to the fun part. Let me show you some solutions that we might see that we draw upon this. So reminder, we are an audio production house, and this can never be a comprehensive list. We cannot give answers to all the questions, obviously. I mean, although we can help with a lot of things that go beyond what audio production companies normally do, there are many things like discoverability and marketing and placement where we need different professional players as well. So the most straightforward solution of all that I would say is to create distinct high quality content. Because the challenge is clear, right? We have more content being produced each and every year, but the listener base isn't growing at the same rate. So to stand out on this crowded space, I think it's essential that publishers focus on creating distinct, high quality content that has the ability to stand out. And where TTS might have a chance of catching some listeners that are not so quality conscious and rather get it for free, we believe that the product people pay for, the product that really people pay for money, like even though in subscriptions, must be of superior quality. And I don't think that it just work of to just release content and expecting success. It's really about you stand out with your content. This will lead us to the next question. So how can you do this with these shrinking profit margins? A path worth looking into might be to embrace technology for efficient workflows. And in our company, we spent years of optimizing our production workflow to constantly improve output quality, reliability, and cost effectiveness at the same time. I know that's a big promise, but we just did this because out of necessity, especially back when we hit the 3-digit area of audiobook projects alone per year. To be honest, we didn't see any other way. And to speak about the elephant in the room, no, I'm not going to present you the next AI tool. And we've come a long way to do so without AI. I'm saying this particularly because we heard a lot of people talking about us, wondering how can they offer their services at this price point, at this short project turnaround time. There must be a trick, and I'm sure that they use AI or something. But the answer is no, almost none. I will come back to this later, why this is only an almost. And we saw a huge potential in the good old process optimization to cut friction and to profit from scaling effects, by the way. And despite everybody is talking about Gen AI, and from the beginning, we saw a huge potential in getting machines to run all the boring, repetitive tasks that nobody wants to do. And machines are great and reliable in this. And letting us humans do all the fun and interesting stuff in very human domains like concepts, director's notes, speaking, obviously, etc. Nevertheless, this process optimization led us to developing our own software in 2022. And this is the very creative name app that stands for Audiobook Production Partner, or Audio Production Partner as in general. And we started developing this software to use internally and to streamline our workflows. So this is nothing that we license out. We just did this just for us. And before that, we had our data at several software as a service providers, and it was just getting too complex to handle. And the first version just started out as a voice pool database to gather all the plenty details, feedbacks, audio snippets, preferences for our over 1,000 voice talents. So that's a lot of data to handle, and the software still does a great job this today. But it quickly developed more features like scheduling, data renaming, keeping track of deadlines, delegating, collecting and gathering feedback, metadata collecting, and sending it out to distribution and standardized Onyx XML files, many things more, and even more to come. Our roadmap is packed. And also, maybe some of you listening right now have seen it already. We also found in version 1 a great way of our clients to display our voice castings. Because before that, it was a bit of a hassle, and we want to make it easy for them to listen to audio snippets without the hassle of large lists, download files, etc. And it's also great to give the option to calculate prices right away, pick voices, and give context information, all in an interface that is fun to use. So this is what we started 2022 and arrived 2023, and some of you might seen it already. Before we get back to the most recent developments that we did, I would like to get a little bit more into detail about our audio processing workflow. You remember when I told you that we don't use AI, it was not completely right. And this brings me of speaking about Benny, who was actually our first intern in our studios back in 2010. And he went on to found Accentize, a company that is developing AI-driven audio tools for professionals. One of his great tools specifically I want to point out that helps us a lot, I would like to present you today, is dxRevive. And this tool helps to remove audio artifacts and noise and to enhance a recording. And it uses artificial neural networks, and those can somewhat differ between what noise and what speech is, and can somewhat magically, I don't have any other way of saying it, imagine frequencies that were lost in a maybe not ideal recording situation. The beauty of it is, what makes it unique is that it's on real-time performance and you can run it completely locally, no downloads, no uploads. And that's also great because they have an ethical AI commitment, 100% transparent about it. And we can be sure that absolutely no mischief is going on since the data does not even leave our system, right? So you might wonder why we need this for professional studios. Because even though our audiobooks are recorded in a professional studio environment, there are still some things like, let's say, page flip noises, stomach growlings, plosives, etc., that this tool easily detects and knows how to differ between program content and noise. And this saves us a lot of manual work. But let me quickly show you what it can do. I mean, to show you the full capacity of it, we have picked a podcast recording where one of the participants joined in via Zoom, and you probably all know how this can sound like. And yeah, let's go.
Und wir haben alle auf einen Server gearbeitet. Das war damals ein absolutes Novum, weil es gab ja noch gar kein Internet. Also das ging nur, indem man wirklich physisch zusammensaß und alle Leitungen quasi in einem großen Computer verschwanden, der unten im Keller stand.
And now let's see how it sounds when the magic happened.
Und wir haben alle auf einen Server gearbeitet. Das war damals ein absolutes Novum, weil es gab ja noch gar kein Internet. Also das ging nur, indem man wirklich physisch zusammensaß und alle Leitungen quasi in einem großen Computer verschwanden, der unten im Keller stand.
I don't know how you feel, but I really think that this is impressive. And even if we most of the time only use it lightly, we use it on almost any recording, and that allows us to produce content faster and while maintaining the quality that listeners expect. Benny actually planned being with us on the book fair as well, but unfortunately he had to fly to LA, you know how it is, and because he had to pick up his Emmy award that he was just received exactly for this tool. So I think this is a cheers to Benny. If you're watching, hi. So, let's get back to where does this lead us? So the question is, what can we do with all the time saved? Of course, you know, greater efficiency comes with lower costs, but far more important is to face all the other the market challenges is something else. With these tools and workflows, we can create products at a higher efficiency. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about production. It's for us, it's about getting the full holistic picture. We do not want to blindly produce everything that is given to us. I think it's also, as a production house, our job to always reflect on what can we do to make things even better. And I don't mean only technically, I also mean on a conceptual level. Because if we save time to rather boring technical stuff, we have more time and gain a lot of headspace. I think this is a phenomenon that we all know from our businesses or in our jobs, because with this headspace enables us to imagine new things, to start new endeavors, and we can create products that might not have been created otherwise. And one example of, I think, a thing that we achieved with this is the audio play, The Moon Heritage Chronicles, as an example. In cooperation with the writers and producers, we casted and conceptualized a full-on audio play, making it maybe the first romance young adult fantasy audio play in Germany. And it contains a full cast, sound design and music we produced, and we did so with the efficiency to make ends meet because this is released on a streaming-only basis at the moment. Also, we took some lessons learned from podcast production and distribution in terms of format length and episode release interval. But since an audio play is nothing that the very book talk target group of this product is traditionally looking for, we set up an influencer cooperation with the quite popular book talk star Jess Hengel. And this partnership helped us to reach new audiences, and I really think it went rather well, and the drama quickly ranked in the BookBeat charts in 2 categories on release day. And I think it's a great example of what you can do to gain strategic partnerships with a high quality production that can drive your success. And the first episode was released 2 weeks ago, the third one today, by the way. And it's too early to speak how feasible it is, but the first numbers do look promising enough to think that it might not be the last season we produced. Nevertheless, since a full-on audio play with full cast might not be the right decision in all the cases, we came up with a different term called Audiobook Plus. So Audiobook Plus we have showcased to you today in another recent production called Greta und die Giraffensprache that we produced for Goldfinch Audio, the publisher. So what's the difference between an audio play and an audiobook plus? So an an audio play is actually, I like to say, a movie without the pictures, right? So you have a full cast, you have actors in dialogues with each other. Sometimes you have a narrator, sometimes you don't. But the audiobook plus, the difference is that it is read by a single narrator, but still it is embedded in the music and sound design. And this is allowing us to produce an engaging, immersive product at the fraction of a cost of a full-scale audio drama. And we see a great potential to create an added value that stands out on the market in this, with costs that don't have to be necessarily significantly higher than a regular audiobook. And personally, I'm really curious on how publishers will leverage this format in future. It's more common in the kids sector at the moment, but I see also great potential in nonfiction. By the way, this one will be released in small episode, and the first one is released today. So I say hello and happy birthday, Greta. So with all this in mind, the numbers, the challenges, the products, I think one thing gets really clear. It's definitely the voice that makes all the difference. It's always about, no matter which product, a great voice and a great interpretation, and this is the key element. Don't matter, audiobooks, podcasts, audio play, audiobook plus, you name it. And ironically, even with AI voices, everybody is talking about how this is a key factor if the chosen voice fits to the material and if the interpretation is right. So I say, no matter what you do, choosing the right voice is becoming increasingly important. In fact, there are numbers on this as well, and I found this really impressive when I read it. 200% growth in searches for narrators there were between 2021 and 2023. And it's not only celebrities, this also applies to lesser known voices. Thanks, by the way, Nathan, for these numbers. And I think that's quite impressive. And the acknowledgement of these facts and the constant feedback about many things that we have with our publishing clients led us to create something that we are really proud of, and I would like to present to you today. And this is a new tool for publishers, our software audiobook production partner. And it is designed to rethink the voice talent casting process by providing data-driven insights that allow publishers to make informed decisions quickly. It's a tool that will save time and ensure that the right talent is matched to the right project. What makes this app and this tool special is the transparency it brings to the casting process, because publishers can see all the relevant data about a voice talent from their performance history to market demand and make sure that they make faster and more confident decisions. I would like to give you a deeper look into this. So, this is how it actually looks like. I'm sorry. Let me give it back to you right now. This is what you see when you log on. By the way, since real data contains some sensitive pricing information and daily updated data sets, we have compiled dummy data of 100 voices that represent our currently over 600 audiobook narrators in the German market. So none of these names that you see here really exist. Let's dive in. First, you see these tiles per voice that give you some basic info, like you have audio snippet in many genres. This brings you directly to Audible, how many audiobooks they have published, and obviously name and price information. And you can always favorite to your favorite list. And you also can see what I explained to you before, your castings that you might have had as a publishing house. Pretty straightforward so far. What makes it special is a different thing. So in the background, our tool has a daily updated data sets across the whole audiobook market. That contains many publicly available data sources like charts, bestseller lists, store rankings, reviews, and of course feedbacks and more of our own database. So what can we do with this data? We use it to power some of our smart features. The first one I would like to show you are the genre list. This is actually something a few of our publishing clients pointed out to us as a nice to have. So you see that we have different genres, and we can see some of the voices here, and these are ranked relevant. So this is not curated. This always draws from the daily updated data from the data points that I just described to you. And we can see in this dummy data, it would be Katja Grabenauer on first place, and then you can go down and see the other succeeding ranks. What we also use a lot is another feature I would like to show to you, because here you see, oh, I want to book this this narrator, but he is booked out until November. So what can we do? I would like an alternative. So I press on this button and it shows you the alternatives for this particular voice talent. And the interesting point that this is also data science. So this is not only features like tone, gender, age, etc. This is also draws on data points. So if you have a celebrity voice, it will assume that you're also looking for a quite popular voice. Or if you are on a tight budget, it will also assume that you're looking for a voice that doesn't break the bank. And talking about prices, there's another thing, the next feature. You might have realized that some price tags are green and some other ones are gray. This indicates that the price given, the green price tag, that our data and suggestion is, according to our data and suggestion experience of the price is justified. We do this to reduce complexity and also show that higher prices might be justified given the popularity, because we see it might be problematic at just going around and price shopping, and we see that the chosen voice is also a great factor in marketing, so we want to give that information. So does this mean that great prices are expensive? Nope, that does not work necessarily, because we only draw the data from the audiobook market, and it can also be that this person is famous as an actor or in synchronization and also genres that our tool doesn't have any data on. So another data feature that we're really happy about is let me show you, I'm going back to the search, is as you can see here, we see this voice is momentarily trending. So I think that's really interesting because this indicates that the popularity of this particular voice is momentarily rising quickly. Maybe it got featured in a new bestseller or whatever, and we expect this knowledge to be seen by other actors on the market as well. So this gives you an indication you might want to maybe book this person because before his voice is completely booked out. And finally, on the start page, we see this list here called Hidden Gems. And this is the only section that is featuring voices that we found is underappreciated. So it's not a data-driven section. This is curated and handpicked by our voice pool manager. And I really think it's a nice way to give some presence to voices that we think are really doing great. The last thing I would want to show you is the voice search. Obviously, that's really straightforward. You can search for voices over here. What's also interesting, let me show you, is that we search for a male speaker, maybe in a medium age, or let's pick 2 age regions. Price, I don't care at the moment. The tonality should be rather dark or rougher. And we have a title, and we want this voice actor to have a significant relevance of already spoken titles in the genre, let's say romance. And there you have it. Then you can get a really narrow choice of voice actors that might be a perfect match for this combination. So I really hope that I could give you some inspiration of how to improve workflows and to use our tools to your benefit for your publishing needs. And we surely give our best to provide solutions that are designed to tackle the challenges of this, at the moment, very dynamic publishing landscape. And like I said before, to close this off, I would say discoverability is key. And I would like to maybe close with a general thought. With the budget, time, and energy you save on production or on other factors along the line, I think one should invest in making a product seen, discovered, and heard. And because I cannot imagine that it will get a lot easier to achieve this as the market goes on. And I really hope that you use your time to make great products that stand out and obviously market them well. So stand out, be brave, be bold, and let's get creative on this. And obviously we are on the fair, and I would love the opportunity to connect during the Frankfurt Book Fair, and I'm really happy to discuss some of the things together. Maybe you have different opinions or different insights, and we are also happy to give you more insight on what we do and also learn about what your challenges are or simply have a coffee, so join in. But also, we still have some time for some questions right now. So I'm really, let me pull the questions up. What are the quality criteria for selecting a voice, a top voice? That's a great question, and I think this can only be answered for each and every product individually. So if we have like a new title, if we have a backlist title, in which genre it is in, what is the budget that is to be expected, and what's the target group? So I think that's exactly what we try to achieve with our tool, to give a little bit more insights, to making exactly that decision, because this is not an easy one, and we try our best as a company, as an audio production house, to aid our publishing partners to make that decision. But I think this is not a general thing that can be said in general. I hope that helps. Oh, that's a long question. Let me read through it. Do you think? Oh, there are many questions. Do you think that AI voices will coexist with human professionals on the long run? Yes, I do think. Like I pointed out earlier, I believe that there will be a place for TTS and AI, especially on dynamic and interactive contents, or on the go content where it's not so quality conscious. But I think really nice and well narrated products will still be monetized in many years to come. Although maybe the market share will vary, we don't know about this, but I think it will stay, and it's here to stay. Oh, that's nice. I would like to hear what your opinions on comic and audio adaptations, if any. We actually did some projects on comics as well, and the adaptation is really, really crucial to anything. And I think that's a really a good point to make, because that's what I meant earlier on to say that we want to give a holistic approach. Because sometimes we get handed over scripts for production, and we realize during production that it doesn't work out. Sometimes even we went through the whole script and we saw that it does make sense, but when we build it all together with the sound design, we saw like it doesn't really work. Let's try to adapt a little bit, and it's an ongoing process, playing ping pong with the publishing house as well. And this is really fun to do, but yeah, I guess this is something we would like to go on further. Let me go. Do you have further sources, information to understand the market figures in depth shown in the presentation? Yes, there's a lot of information on this. There is this white paper for the Frankfurt Book Fair, where I think internationally it's a great comprehensive insight on the international publishing industry at the moment. Also, there is for the German market, there is the famous Buchmesse, that is for the Börsenverein des Deutschen Buchhandels. Very interesting insights and a comprehensive insight into the German market. And also I draw upon data of the ARD and ZDF, the government run TV and radio houses. So yeah, and is app acting as a voice agency? Also a good question. It's a software that we provide as an audio production house. And we don't see it as a voice agency, because we use it to enable the choice of the voice and facilitate the process of castings and finding the right voice for our production clients. So we do not license out that software to use for any other partners or whatever. It's just for us as a production house. In some way, you could say, because we also have production partners and partner studios in Germany, but also in other countries. So we partner up with others as well. So in that form, it might be an agency, but it is run by us, and the post-production always takes place in our studios. And are you offering your app tool to other audiobook producers, and if so, only in German? Great question. I was expecting this, and at the moment we're heavily very very prominent on the German market. And although, like I pointed out earlier, we produce internationally, the tool is not ready yet for the international market, but it's definitely on a roadmap to do so. And we offer our castings for already. So parts of it, yes, for the international market. We produce audiobooks in English, in French, we had Italian, we even had Arabic ones. So give us some time and we will see how we can roll it out to many different markets and languages as well. Also a great question, what does the price given for each narrator include? That is a question that is easily answered because it's basically everything. So for full transparency and cost control for our clients, we have switched pricing to fixed prices. So we negotiate all the prices we have on this PFH basis. PFH meaning per final hour. So the prices that got displayed with the PFH abbreviation behind it will include the fee for the narrator, the studio, the post-production, the correction, the double checking everything. So everything that you need will be inside, so you can easily calculate if you want to do it on with the narrator. Inside this, the level, how much goes to the narrator and how much is it us, it heavily changes because the prices per narrator and the prices that they give to us also vary. So this is a great way in finding out if a particular voice is suiting your budget needs. I think that's it. Let me check back if there is anything more. I will go through this. There was this other question that I haven't completely answered. If we still have some time, there was Fabio Di Pietro. Oh, now it's gone. Oh, now it's here again. Thanks, Jana, for aiding me on this. Could I augment human voices as well, and could it replace them altogether, at least for some categories of product? It could. I mean, we had experiments in mixing AI voices with human voices in our back rooms. We made like dark experiments like this. At the time being, we haven't had any success with this, but I would say stay curious and never say never. I'm really interested in how this evolves, and it's, to be honest, drawing again on these AI voices, it's a big topic, and it was maybe a short story. 2023, I quite had some fear of maybe this AI voices destroying our business, to be honest. But the more I learned about it, and I always say that fear is a very bad advisor when it comes to questions like that. And we just try to experiment with it, not necessarily to create a big market response, but to also maybe say that to learn from it, basically, right? To learn what can it do and what can it not. And I think the insights that I had from it were that there will still be a place, like I said before, for human narrated audiobooks. And yeah, I hope that answers your question somehow. Let me see if I have captured everything of your questions, Fabio. Yeah, we will see on the rest of your question, we will see about that. Another question, if we still have time. Yes, I believe. Is it possible to give a ballpark figure of creating an audiobook out of 50,000 words to give an idea of the budget required? Yes, That is possible. I don't feel comfortable of giving that to you right now, but that is exactly the emails we get when a customer approaches us the first time. They will look exactly like your message, and the question there will be back, hey, give us some more insights on this. Probably the best way to find out like the costs with a non-binding offer would be send us in some script and we have a call. We can see through the script how complicated it is, how lengthy it is, what the genre is, and what we think would be best to do with it. Because also to say if we need a celebrity voice on it, or rather is it a backlist title where we seek for maybe a voice that is not so much popular at the moment. So there are many factors in this, and we always give our best before we just shout out a price to give an appropriate solution, because I think it's really important that all of these criteria meet to make the product win, and not only to give like the cheapest price. I think that's really crucial, and I always try to do that. I hope that this answers your question. All right. I think if that's it, I'm really happy to have had these opportunities. Thanks to the Frankfurt Book Fair and everybody that made this happen. I really hope that I could give you some insights or some inspiration, and we will see each other at the fair. Yeah, let's go.